Khamzat Chimaev just defeated Dricus Du Plessis, and probably not in the way you guys expected. He beat Dricus Du Plessis by a dominant decision. He dominated him all 5 rounds. From the moment the bell rang until it ended, he was on top of Dricus Du Plessis pretty much the entire time. The first 20 seconds of the fight, he got a takedown. He got on top of Dricus in the middle of the octagon. Dricus was on his back for pretty much the entire round. The second round, it was pretty much the same story, except Khamzat Chimaev was on his back up against the cage the entire time. The third round was exactly the same, and so was the 4th round. In the 5th round, towards the end, Dricus had a little bit of success. Mark Goddard was separating them on the feet, and Dricus was able to land actually damaging strikes on the feet and took Khamzat Chimaev down and got on top of him, but it didn't do much. It was the last 30 seconds of the fight, and he got dominated this entire fight. And in my predictions, I said, I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to win this by first round submission or TKO, but I wouldn't be surprised if Khamzat Chimaev won by decision. And I think a lot of people, the narrative was, well, if Khamzat Chimaev can't finish him in round 1, Dricus Du Plessis is going to take over and he's going to use his cardio. Well, we saw the exact opposite, and I thought Khamzat Chimaev would be able to take him down in every single round. I didn't think Dricus Du Plessis had the skill to defend the takedowns consistently against Khamzat Chimaev, and I thought that's what he needed, and that's what he did need, but he was not able to pull it off. And Khamzat Chimaev kind of shut up a lot of the people who were talking about the whole cardio narrative. I think his cardio actually has improved as well since his other fights, but also I think it was the fact that Dricus Du Plessis had no offense for Khamzat. Khamzat was just able to be in a dominant position the entire fight, and it wasn't much effort for him. He didn't have to deal with many scrambles from Dricus, if not any, and Dricus was pretty much surviving the whole time, and I think that's why Khamzat Chimaev, you didn't see him gas at all. He actually looked much more fresh than Du Plessis because of the fact that he's just so much more technical. Dricus could not get him off of him, and that whole narrative about Dricus only having to survive the round 1 was disproven in this fight. And another thing this fight kind of proved was Khamzat Chimaev outdid Dricus also in the physicality. A lot of people were picking Dricus because of the fact that they thought he was stronger and he was able to weather the storm. He could take damage better. He would be too strong and he would put up more of a fight than a guy like Robert Whittaker or Usman or Gilbert Burns. But Khamzat Chimaev looked stronger than ever, and he was physically dominating Dricus, not only through the skill, but physically. He seemed much stronger. He was dragging Dricus across the octagon for a huge portion of that fight. But I think the main reason why Dricus had so little success in this fight was because he just could not stop the takedown, and it didn't seem like he changed anything about his game plan going into this fight. He had a very high guard, and at times he didn't even sprawl. Later in the fight, Khamzat Chimaev shot on him, and Dricus didn't even pull his leg back. You saw Daniel Cormier in the commentary talking about that, and from a champion like that, you need to be able to defend these takedowns correctly, and that's why I've always said Dricus will get exposed by a specialist, because he's just not technical enough. He's well-rounded, but he's not great at every category like a guy like Ilya Topuria, who's well-rounded. And Khamzat Chimaev was that specialist who could expose him in the grappling. But what's next for Khamzat Chimaev? He just completely dominated Dricus Du Plessis, the middleweight champion who was going for middleweight GOAT status at this point, a guy with 2 title defenses. What's next for him? And I think the next obvious fight for his division would be the winner of Imavov versus Baralio. Those are the 2 most deserving contenders. I think Imavov will be the next challenger at middleweight, and I think that would be a lot more competitive of a fight than Dricus. I think that's a much more difficult matchup for Khamzat Chimaev. And that fight I think is a lot closer and harder to predict. But also Khamzat Chimaev won so dominantly that I wouldn't hate to see him go up to light heavyweight. Yeah, I would like to see him fight a middleweight first, but afterwards I wouldn't mind seeing him go up to fight the winner of Ankalaev versus Pereira sometime next year if he gets another title defense. That's an interesting matchup. That's a really tough test for Khamzat Chimaev, and I think he's one of the only guys who could beat Ankalaev because of the wrestling. I think the matchup between Ankalaev and Khamzat Chimaev is very difficult, and even if Pereira beats Ankalaev, yeah, they might do a trilogy, but if not, Khamzat Chimaev versus Alex Pereira would be one of the biggest fights in the UFC, next to Ilya Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. I think Khamzat Chimaev being champion now, a lot of people criticize that only fights once a year, but he said himself he's trying to be a lot more active now, and he's a much bigger star than Du Plessis. There's tons of fights you can do. A lot of people are going to pick Khamzat Chimaev in a super fight. With Dricus Du Plessis, maybe not. But what's next for Dricus? He just lost horribly against Khamzat Chimaev. There's obviously no title shot next for him, no rematch for a long time. What's the next matchup for Dricus? I think Dricus could fight a guy like Michael Venom Page. He just won this fight, and yeah, he's probably going to be ranked maybe number 9 after this win against Jared Cannonier, but there's a lot of contenders booked fighting each other right now. I think that would be a super interesting matchup. 2 unorthodox fighters. I think that's a good fight for Dricus, considering he's probably not going to be in the title picture for a while since that performance, and I think that would be a fun matchup. But overall, this fight was kind of anticlimactic, but it was was a great performance by Khamzat Chimaev, and he proved pretty much every narrative wrong. People said he didn't have good cardio. He showed he went 5 rounds and looked fresher than DDP. People said he only has a chance to win in the first round. He won by decision. I thought it was a great performance. Let me know what you guys thought about this performance, and let me know who you think he should fight next. If you guys like this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.